Hiya, how are you all? Hope you've been healthy and keeping well. We are getting closer to Christmas. I'm so glad you guys are watching, and I hope you can add some of the menus that we've been making over the past month on your menus this Christmas. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing, the returning subscribers, the new subscribers, the new viewers, and for those of you that are just watching and not subscribing, thank you so much. But I would love it if you really could subscribe and grow this family, and also help me get motivated to make more videos, especially if you enjoy any of the videos in here. Today we are going to be making rice fritters, or what we call rice cakes. If you've seen them before, heard of them, these are a good treat to your family. You can have them as an evening snack, you can have them as breakfast, you can also have them as a midday snack. So join me as we make this together. The ingredients we need are not many. You will enjoy making them. Now, if you find yourself at home with leftover rice, like I do not throw it away. There are amazing things you can do with the rice and leftover rice. And one of them is these rice fritters, or what we call rice balls or rice cakes, whatever you may want to call it. And to help us is the rice that is left over, some 2 eggs. You need some spices that you'd want to taste in your rice balls. For me, I've got garlic, ginger powder. I've got some black pepper, paprika, some rosemary, and I'm also going to use some garlic in there, garlic powder. Now, I've also got some breadcrumbs. If you find at home and you don't have breadcrumbs, it is very easy to make breadcrumbs. You just buy yourself bread, or if you have any stale bread in the house, one that you would think has gone bad, guess what? It can still work and it's not gone bad. You can get it, toast it, and then crush it using either your pestle and mortar or your blender, and it should give you this powder that you see here. These breadcrumbs I made myself at home, so you can make them and use them to do many things. Now, what else you would need will be some spring onions, chopped up carrots. They don't have to be many, just a few. Chopped up green pepper, but you slice them really thin or fine. And then some oatmeal. These will help me do my rice cakes, or what we call rice fritters, or rice balls. Now, I'll put my leftover rice in a blender. If you have a blender, go ahead and use your blender to blend your rice so that it becomes a little bit finer than it is. Like my rice is basmati rice. It cannot do those rice cakes very well, so I have to blend it and make it softer. Or you can, if you have rice powder, you can use the rice powder and then use it, blend it, boil some water and mingle it until it is fine and more together. Then now I'm going to blend my rice and be able to get it a little bit finer than it is now. And that should do. Use the NutriBullet, but you can use a blender. It can still do the same thing. This is a bit faster than the blender, but they all do the same thing. Now, I'll scoop out the leftover rice, and then now I'm just scooping out the leftover rice, and then we start working. Now you can use as much as you have in the house. You don't have to stretch it so much. My servings are many and my leftover rice is quite an amount. So my ingredients will also depend on the number of people I'm serving and the leftover rice that I've got. Now this is my leftover rice. time for me to add my other ingredients. I'll put some carrots in there, like I said, oatmeal. These are just for flavor. Spring onions, green pepper, carrots chopped up really fine so that it is easy for my rice cakes or fritters to hold together. And then I'll add in some paprika, ginger, black pepper, rosemary, and some garlic powder. Now when I'm done, I'll mix this up and make sure they are well blended. Once I've mixed them well, I'll have to get my hands now involved in this, because if I don't, then there will not be a surety that every bit of my rice has got a bit of the ingredients that I'm going to use. Guys, these are very easy, and remember they are economical, because if you had leftover food and you didn't know what to do, this is a good way of using it and bringing it back to the plates with a new twist. So if you are at home and making meals for people and they are wondering what they are going to be served today, this would be an unexpected twist and they will love it. And this cuts across all ages, whether you are grown up or you're doing it for kids or for yourself, you will enjoy them. I've not added salt, because I've added actually a little bit of salt, because if you didn't put in your rice salt, then it's a good time to add salt, so that when you mix them together, they are not too salty or lacking in salt. Now guys, my mixture is ready. As you can see, it's more together. It is best if you're boiling your rice to boil it with salt, but if you didn't do it that way, you can always add it into your mixture and just mix it very well. Careful not to leave it in one place, because then it may be too salty in some parts. Now mine is ready. Time for me to beat up my eggs and also wash up my hands, because they are a bit messy now. Now I'll put this on the side, and then time for me to break my eggs. I'm using 2 because my mixture is for mini servings, but if your servings are just few, you can use 1. And I'll beat my eggs. Once you see they are nicely beaten, you start scooping your balls. Now I've finished beating my eggs. I'll set them on the side and then start sizing up my fritters to the desired size. Now I'm going to be using a spoon to scoop and measure the size of my fritters. Now you get some little bit of oil and oil your hands, and then so that your mixture does not stick to your hands, and then roll out the balls. They'll be able to mold very well if your hands are oily, but if they are not, they'll be sticking, and that's not what we are looking for. You want to start off clean and end off clean. So once you see they are dried up, you oil them again. Now this is how my ball will look like when it's done. I put it on the tray and the next one you make sure, you try and make sure that the size of your fritters or rice ball cakes or rice balls is the same. So if you have like a teaspoon, you could use that or use a tablespoon. I'm using this one. I'm hoping that it would give me the same size relatively. Once you see your hands are starting to be dried up, you oil them again and do until all your mixture is done. These are very easy, guys. You can always try them, especially the festive season, where I'm believing many of you would be having company over, either in the evening or in the morning or during the daytime. If there are kids around, they'll love these. If they're adults, still they'll be impressed and love them. So go ahead and make yourself sumptuous meals at home. Now guys, my rice fritters, or call them rice balls or rice cakes, are ready, as you can see. Now time for me to dip them in the eggs. So what I will do is get my rice ball, dip it in the breadcrumbs first, and then dip my rice ball after that in the egg mixture. But in order to avoid them getting really wet, I'll first of all dip all of them in the breadcrumbs. That way my breadcrumbs stay dry. And then after the breadcrumbs, I will put them in the eggs, all of them at once, one by one. Because if you do it any other way, you'd find that the breadcrumbs won't be enough. Right now, as you can see, they're all dry. I'm just going to get an empty plate and put them, and then get them ready for the dipping in the eggs. Guys, you make sure all your rice cakes have submerged and covered in breadcrumbs. This will give them a crispness that you will find enjoyable. Now, the reason why I've dipped them in the breadcrumbs first is if you have very few breadcrumbs, these will be able to go around all your rice cakes. But if you go dipping them in the eggs first, when the rice cakes themselves are wet enough, because remember you oil your palms before you roll to get these balls, that means that oil is enough to help stick the breadcrumbs onto your rice cake, and you'll be able to save and use reasonably small amount of rice cake or breadcrumbs. But if you have a lot, maybe you can go ahead, but this is how I've done mine, and I've always done it this way. It's economical. That way I don't use a lot, and I can do many in one go, as long as you turn and make sure every bit of your rice cake has gotten the breadcrumbs. Then they'll be ready for dipping in the eggs and frying after that. As you can see, mine are reducing in number. So if you didn't make as many as I have, that's okay. By now you're probably through and waiting to do the next thing. Special shouts go out to Sawira Lifestyle in Canada. Thank you so much for the comments. And guys, thank you so much for subscribing and telling friends. My goal this year was to have 1,000 subscribers. And guys, as you can see, we are not yet there. We are a long way from that number. Please continue sharing the links and continue telling friends about the channel, so that come December end, we are 1,000. That would be very nice for subscribers. And for those of you that are just watching and not subscribing, please subscribe. That will make me very glad and encouraged to make more videos. And together we can make easy meals at home. As you can see, my breadcrumbs were not many, but they have been able to go around because I dipped them first before putting in the eggs. If I had done it any other way, my hands will be filled with them and there wouldn't be enough to go around. But these will be enough for sure, and I'll be guaranteed to have leftover. As you can see, we are through. Now time to get them ready for soaking in the eggs and frying. See how they look when they are all coated? Now time for the eggs to have their chance as well. Now I've finished coating them with breadcrumbs. Now I'm going to dip them in the eggs. Remember, I had 2 eggs, and then I'll drain out my bowl and then dip it in the breadcrumbs again, and then set it on a tray ready for frying. I'll do that to all the rice cakes or fritters. You can either use just the eggs and just fry from there, or you can use rice cakes, breadcrumbs if there is any that is left over. Like in my case, I happen to have some left over. That is why I'm using them to dip. Otherwise, if you don't have any left over, you don't have to dip them another go in the breadcrumbs. You can just dip them in the eggs, and that should do. Then you prepare to fry after that. All of them, and then I start frying. Now guys, they are ready and time for me to deep fry them. How you know your oil is ready is when you dip in the skewer, and then if there are bubbles forming around your skewer, then they are ready for, your oil is ready to fry. This is my skewer, so if you have it, you can go ahead and use it. Now the ones I've deep fried first did not have breadcrumbs covered on top, but there are two of them, so you'll be able to see the others which were coated with breadcrumbs a second time after dipping in the oil, in the eggs. Once they are in, depending on your heat, the heat should be medium heat so that you don't make your rice cakes in a rush. Now I'm turning them to see that desired golden color. This shouldn't take long, guys, because remember our rice was already pre-cooked, or it was leftover rice, so it does not need hours and hours of frying in the oil. So once you see that desired golden color, you know your rice cakes are ready to take out. You let them sit a bit to cool, and they are ready to serve. Now these ones did not get a second coating of breadcrumbs, so I want you to see the difference. If I have extra breadcrumbs to add on top of my rice cakes, and when I don't have extra breadcrumbs to dip my rice cakes after dipping them in eggs. So these ones were last coated with eggs and not breadcrumbs, but there are others that have breadcrumbs on them. We'll be able to see the difference. Otherwise, as you can see, this is an easy meal, economical, and it encourages not being wasteful. You know, like when you throw away leftover food, this one would come back to your plate with a new twist. And believe you me, they will love them because these are spicy, they've got all these things. They are crispy on the outward, yet soft and moist on the inside. Mine are about to get out, so time for me to look for a napkin and a tray to let them sit and drain off excess oils before I serve them. Once you see that golden color on all your rice cakes, guys, that's good. That means they are ready, because already the aromas from all the things that I've added in them is in my kitchen right now. So I know mine are ready and good to take out and serve. Now I'm taking them out. And this will help me drain all the oil out, so that by the time they go on the tissue, on the napkin or tissue, whatever oil is left on there will be drained off. If you've never made them at home, they will not believe that it's rice and leftover rice. So over the Christmas holiday, where many people would be cooking different meals, if there's any leftover food, you can use it and whip yourself yet another meal that could last you another day. These are delicious, guys, and not only delicious, they look and smell and taste amazing. See the color? Wait until I break them up. Now I'll put in another lot so that all my rice cakes are ready for serving. Now I'm not using my tongue to dip these in or lift them off the plate, simply because they are very soft. I don't want them squashed. So I'm using my hands to place them in the oil. So if you're doing it, be very careful, guys, so that you don't get yourself burnt. And you let them sit before doing anything to them, so that they don't split. You want them intact. The same shape you made, you want to see that on the plate. And if you make them with all these other greens in there, like I've used cornmeal, I've used spring onions, the carrots, once they are ready and you break them up, guys, the greens will pull through. Remember, the rice is white and it's just niceness going around. So go ahead and enjoy, guys, making these meals at home and adding them to your menus. For me to put the ones that I coated with the breadcrumbs last. Remember, the other ones were coated with just the eggs. After the breadcrumbs, I put the eggs and that was it. These ones, the last thing was breadcrumbs. They had the breadcrumb coating twice. So let's see how different they will look from those that had only one run of the breadcrumbs. Guys, you will enjoy eating these things. They are so easy to make. And there is no flour added. Just a few spices and a little vegetables here, and then you have it. Now the reason you see these ones having extra foam on there is because the breadcrumbs came on last. So the other ones which had only eggs, the foam was not on, but these ones, because of the breadcrumbs that were coated twice, you can see came off with this foam. But by the time we are done making, the difference will be very minimal.
and the taste will be the same. Because at the end of the day, whatever is in the first ones is in these ones. So if you find yourself not with enough breadcrumbs, go ahead and still make. You can coat your rice fritters once, or go ahead and do it twice. So whichever you like, just do that. Now these are about to get ready as well, and I'll be taking them out and